Welcome back. Have you ever seen someone who's obsessed about something? Well, usually the term we would use for that is mania. There are a lot of advanced words that describe these obsessions that people have, to the point of them being crazy. Today we're going to look at some of these words and see how we can describe such situations and conditions. Welcome, I'm Ajeeth from Capshine. Capshine is a revolutionary learner together English fluency program. With Capshine, learning English is easy, quick, fun, affordable, and effective, and we promise a whole new you in 6 months or less. So what is etymology? Well, etymology is a study of the root or the origin of words. The beauty about it is once you know or recognize the root of a particular word, you can also learn and guess the meaning of several other words that are related to it. For example, the word inflammable is made up of in, flame, and able. So in means, well, extremely or very. Flame means, well, fire, and able means to be able to. Can you guess what the word inflammable means therefore? It means can easily catch fire or very flammable, right? Similarly, with this understanding of flame meaning fire, you should be able to figure out the meaning of flammable, which is something that can catch fire, flame, flamboyant, someone who's very fancy and very colorful is flamboyant. It's like they are on flames all the time. Flamboyant. This is how etymology works. Today we're going to look at words that relate to mania, right? So the first word itself is mania. Mania is essentially a disorder where someone is driven to a point of being crazy, or they act like they're crazy. For example, one day he read in the encyclopedia about the advantages of a balanced diet, and so he began his mania for vitamins, which was to last for the rest of his life. So what happens therefore, what this suggests is that he went almost crazy with this obsession of vitamins and how to use them, and this obsession lasted him an entire life, right? This mania. So it's not a healthy obsession, it's an unhealthy obsession when it's a mania. The next word is manic. Or rather maniac, we will look at manic in a bit. Maniac is someone who's sort of crazed or crazy, who goes to extreme lengths for their obsessions. For example, I knew I probably looked like a crazed maniac, but I kept smiling, right? So a maniac is someone who's a crazy person, who's extremely obsessed about something and who's driven to do things towards that obsession, a maniac. On the other hand, the adjective manic talks about doing something in an obsessive way, in a crazed way. For example, he wrote a few pages in a burst of manic productivity, fictional portraits of a fanciful woman. So essentially, in almost a crazed, obsessive, productive spree, she did something or he did something. That's a manic bout of something, manic, to do something in a crazed way. The next word is megalomaniac or megalomaniac. This essentially has the root mega, which means huge, and mania, which means obsession. So megalomania is the obsession for being big and pompous and very extraordinary. People who are extremely rich and powerful tend to be megalomaniacs because they're very obsessed about being big and powerful. For example, he's a megalomaniac who thinks he is smarter, richer, and stronger than anyone else. So someone who makes it their life's work to be these things is probably a megalomaniac. And if you're able to think of a few people in your head, well, you probably have characterized them correctly, right? I'm not going to give examples on that. Speaking of which, to become more fluent and become a more confident speaker, you should check out the 30-day free trial with Capshine. With this, you get access to speaking opportunities, you get to learn and practice as a group, you get access to customized feedback, live lessons, and daily micro lessons through which you can clarify your doubts, build your concepts, and become a more confident and fluent user of the English language. Great, let's continue talking about etymology and words that relate to mania. The next word is kleptomaniac. The word klepto is Latin for steal, to take something that is not yours, right? So someone who's a kleptomaniac cannot help themselves but to steal. People who go to a mall and steal a toilet paper, for example, right? They have to do it for the sake of doing it. They're not doing it for sustenance. They're not doing because they have to survive. They're doing it because they're driven almost by a crazy obsession to do so. For example, if you remember, if you've watched Breaking Bad, one of the key characters is a kleptomaniac, right? So Skylar's sister Marie is a kleptomaniac who pretends to be shopping for new homes so that she can steal things from the open house. An open house, by the way, is this event that the realtors throw so that people can come see a house that's on sale, right? So kleptomaniac, someone who can't help themselves but to steal. The next word for such sort of manic behavior is pyromania. Someone who's obsessed about lighting things on fire is a pyromaniac. They want to see things burn. And usually they don't have control over this. They're obsessed about this, right? Aged 8, he became a part-time pyromaniac and quickly progressed from bedclothes to advertising hoardings. Imagine a little kid lighting things on fire from beds to hoardings, right? Obviously this kid can't help himself. That's a pyromaniac. By the way, if you light something on fire and it's, you do it illegally, you light a building on fire, it's called arson as well. The person who can't help themselves is called a pyromaniac, right? They're driven by that obsession. The next word is egomania. Ego means self, myself. When you're obsessed about yourself, when everything that matters to you is only you always comes first, or rather you always come first, you are an egomaniac, right? For example, but he doesn't soft pedal the sinister reality of an egomaniac spreading chaos and carnage with zero accountability, right? So essentially this is talking about someone who is an egomaniac who only thinks about himself and does not care about the consequences of his actions, right? Egomaniac. And finally, monomania. When someone is overly obsessed about one thing, one specific thing, you would call them monomaniac. Mono meaning single. For example, for some of us, fly fishing is an obsessive sport that drives the afflicted to bouts of monomania, right? So someone who is so obsessed about a particular hobby that they can only focus on that, they can only do or think that one thing, then they are monomaniacs. Bibliomania. So the word biblio means books. So this is also used in a word called bibliophobia, and we've seen this in one of the previous episodes, right? Bibliomania is the obsession for books. You're someone who's obsessed about not just reading books, but collecting books and having them, right? If you know someone who buys a bunch of books every time they go out, but they don't really read any of them, you're probably looking at a bibliomaniac. For example, a love of books very naturally suggests a taste for reading, except when bibliomania is in the blood, right? So if you're collecting a lot of books and you're a bibliomaniac, you probably are not reading it. You're just collecting it for the sake of collecting it. And that brings us to the end of words that relate to mania. Let's look at some of the words and recap what we learned. Mania itself means being obsessive or being crazy about something. Maniac is someone who is driven by this need to be obsessive. Manic is to do something in a way that is obsessive, a manic depression or manic productivity, right? Driven by this obsession. Megalomaniac, someone who is obsessed about being big and powerful, is a megalomaniac. And of course, kleptomania, someone who can't help but steal. Pyromaniac, someone who wants to set things on fire or obsessed about fire. Monomania, someone who is obsessed about one specific thing. And of course, bibliomania, someone who is obsessed about collecting and hoarding books. I hope you found this episode useful. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification to not miss another video like this. And of course, do check out the 30-day free trial by going to capshine.com or downloading the app from the Play Store. Thanks for watching.